Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting edition of Fantasy Sports Review. As always, I'm joined with my co-host, Stanley. But before we get started, I'd like to thank Phil Hargis and Steve Mullins for directing the show tonight. Appreciate you guys. You guys always do a great show. You can always catch Phil and I on Fantasy Football Review. In August, we had a show last week, talked about the NFL draft and what guys to draft. But if you missed out, you'll see us in August. So Phil, can't wait to see you again. So Natalie, she hasn't been on the show for the last 2 weeks. There's been a lot of hockey going on. And before we get started with that, let's talk about some predictions. For one, I took the New Jersey Devils over the New York Rangers. And
you did, Rob.
Natalie said that the Rangers were going to be in complete control of the Devils, which I told everybody that was not going to happen. And it did happen. So
it did.
Give me some props before we start.
Rob, you get a high five. Go ahead. So the reason I thought the Rangers were going to win, and it comes back to me being a little bit biased, the Rangers going out of the regular season were #1 on the East. The only person behind them points-wise was the Pittsburgh Penguins. So me, hometown girl, Penguins girls, I thought, all right, the Rangers are going to go ahead and they're going to win this all. I did not think the Devils were going to do it, but Rob, you got me.
Exactly. Well, so anyways, this is what I wanted to get to anyways. Everyone talks about the 1 seed in hockey, how it's a big deal. The last, I guess, 4 of the last 5 playoffs, you've never seen a 1 seed in the finals.
Right.
Which has been, one of those things. NBA always happens. NFL always happens. You have the New England Patriots, Pittsburgh Steelers, Green Bay Packers, so on. But hockey's that one sport where you always see like a 5 seed or a 6 seed or a 7 seed blow through everybody and get to the finals. And so all of a sudden we have the New Jersey Devils playing against the LA Kings, which we have an 8 seed playing a 5 seed. And that's
6 seed.
Or 6 seed.
Yeah. Come on, Rob, get it.
That's why we have you on the show, because
Exactly.
I can throw them out, but you're like the statistician.
There you go, exactly. So we have the New Jersey Devils, who are a 6 seed going into this, and we have the LA Kings, who are an 8 seed, which is awesome. I think that this is phenomenal that we have an 8 seed that's gone through now 3 rounds, and not only gone through 3 rounds, but gone through 3 rounds pretty successfully and easily. I mean, they won this last round in 5. I thought that they were going to go ahead and sweep it. Rob thought otherwise, which is fine.
I really thought the Phoenix Coyotes being the first time they're, as before they were the Winnipeg Jets, but as the Phoenix Coyotes being in the Western Conference Finals, I really thought that they were going to give the LA Kings everything they had. You talk about some of their top players, Shane Doan, Mike Smith, their goaltender, played excellent hockey, knocking off the Predators, and then before that, they knocked off, you know what, I don't even remember. Because it wasn't that important.
We pay attention to the Eastern side of everything.
We already spoke about it.
But
I'm just saying, and I really thought Phoenix was going to get it done. It's his first time that, Arizona got to see a hockey team, do so well. And you see the LA Kings as an 8 seed. Jonathan Quick proved, told a different tale. Played awesome hockey throughout the towards the end of the season. And remember, their coach, Daryl Suter, came in December, kind of like how the Capitals made that coaching change in December as well. The Kings did a coaching change as well, bringing Daryl Suter, and it proved dividends because now they're in the finals, and you have Jonathan Quick, who's one of the best goaltenders in hockey. And what do we say about hot goaltenders? They always seem to do pretty well.
And this is going to be one of the big deciding factors is the goaltenders through all of this. And again, we're seeing it again going into the Stanley Cup Finals here with Marty Brodeur for the Devils and Jonathan Quick for LA Kings. Goalies are going to be a big deal going through this entire in this entire series. But mentioning what you were talking about with the coaching change too coming into this. I mean, Daryl came in and he relieved their old coach, Coach Murray, I believe his name was, back in December, and he brought in a way more aggressive way of play for LA, and LA's been absolutely showing that throughout this entire series. And so played off of what there was there before and now made the team a lot more aggressive, and you're starting to see a lot of that aggressiveness, and you definitely saw that going into the end of the Phoenix round. There was a lot of fighting that was kind of starting a little bit behind the scenes there, but going into Game 6, some definite, big fights, and they talked about this a lot after the series because it was a very I guess, chirpy type of handshake line. Normally that's like, all right, we won, we go through, we do the very nice handshakes, great job everybody, and there was a lot of fighting going through that because Dustin Brown on the LA had a pretty big hit on one of the Phoenix guys going into that, and so you had some of those guys yelling at him going through, right after the hit is when Penner went in and did the overtime goal, and so I think, I don't know, a lot of little scruffiness going out of the third round.
You like to see that too. I mean, you like to see that kind of style. You're right. Daryl Suter brought a very intense. I mean, he's got 7 siblings that played in the NHL.
Right. Yep.
So he had some experience coming in, and he totally transformed that team into a team that was a bottom feeder for the first month and a half that he was coach. They took on a whole new demeanor, and now look at them. They're in the Stanley Cup Finals. Playing to win the Stanley Cup, which no one saw coming, especially in LA. A whole new fan base has kind of erupted in LA. Kind of brought back those Gretzky eras when they played with him and a bunch of other great players. You look at some of the teams in the past. LA hasn't really had that nothing to cheer about. So
it's never been a big hockey town.
Them, yeah, exactly. For them to do well, this is big for that city. I mean, they have the LA Dodgers, who are now #1 in baseball. Look at the Lakers, look at the Clippers. They had great years. So it's been great in Los Angeles. But let's shift gears and let's recap a little bit, and let's talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. Devils, Rangers. Like I said before the series started, I like the Devils because I said Martin Brodeur was going to step up. Zach Parise has been playing great hockey throughout this whole entire Stanley Cup playoffs. A lot of timely hitting. A lot of timely goals from the New Jersey Devils has really prompted them to beat the Rangers. And how did that even start?
I mean, so leaving the second round, the Rangers went into Game 7 against the Capitals, so now they're jumping into this against the Devils, and it went to a Game 6. So it was really tough to go back-to-back long series, and on the West side, they didn't really have to deal with that. So, something had to eventually give, and I think it finally did for the Rangers with Lundqvist and everybody. The Rangers went up first, and then the Devils came in, and then the Rangers went up. So then there were 2-1 Rangers, and then after that, it was all Devils. The Devils won the next 3 games in a row. Boom, 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 and just completely dominated after that. Brodeur was on fire, absolutely. You've got Parise, you've got Kovalchuk. These are guys that you really, really have to watch. But I do think that those are the only 2 guys that they're going to really have to watch going against LA. They really don't have many other people, and I'll break this down later and why I think that LA is going to both offensive and defensively really, kind of go above Jersey. But, Jersey versus the Rangers, eventually, just got them beat down. But those last 3 games, it was all Devils.
Well, you thought going into Henrik Lundqvist was going to be the answer for the Rangers. And obviously, the first game, they won very handily. They won 3-0. You see a shutout. It's like, oh, here we go again. The Devils, they really, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Flyers, 2 kind of offensive-minded teams. They've never seen a team like New York who plays that mixture of great offense, great defense. You got Girardi, that guy's a heavy-hitting defenseman. They have some great players that can, that are kind of, I guess, suitable to take on that offense in New Jersey. Like you talked about Kovalchuk, Parise, like those guys, I think, are upper echelon. You talk about, offensive-minded players, those guys are at the top. Yeah. But then Martin Brodeur, you can't take away the fact that this guy's already won a Stanley Cup with the New Jersey Devils. He's been in New Jersey for as long as I was, playing Little League baseball about 15 years ago. So it's like, he's been there for a while. And then New Jersey comes out, they win Game 2, and it's like, whoa, all right, well, where did this come from? New York played, they played 7 games against the Capitals.
Yeah.
They played 7 games against the Senators. That's a lot of hockey.
It's a lot of hockey.
So New Jersey kind of picked up on that, and then Game 3, it's like, Rangers win.
All back to the Rangers
again.
And
then it's momentum, throw it to the New York side, and then New Jersey comes back, and on Game 4, wins it handily 4-2. It's like, all right, this is going to be a great series, and then New Jersey takes the next 2 games. So it's...
Well, that's what I thought, too, when the Rangers were doing this. It was their first 2 games that they won, Game 1 and Game 3, they won with a shutout, 3-0 both times. So you're thinking, all right, they're going to go at this, and they're going to just totally nail this. But then when they would start losing, it was it was bad. With Game 4, the Devils won 4-1. Right after the Rangers had just won 3-0, you would never think that would be that way, especially when you're playing home games in Madison Square Garden. Those fans are so behind that team. It is a very brutal place for anybody to play. It was very surprising for them to go up, win 3-0, go down, win 3-0 again, and then go down, and then again.
Right.
It was just all Devils.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that and New Jersey kind of carried that momentum from Game 4, and then Game 5 and Game 6. When that game went to overtime in New Jersey, you hit it right on the head. The crowd was right behind them. I didn't catch the game. I saw the highlights, but you could tell from the get-go, New Jersey was on top of their game. Scoring first, and then scoring the first 2 goals. Rangers comes back. You always see it in hockey. 2-0 is one of the worst leads ever. And then you see it in overtime. A minute in, Adam Henrik scores, and it's like, whoa, did the Devils really just do that?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Kind of hindsight being 2020, we all thought the Rangers were going to win handily over the Devils. Everyone was like, I wish if the Caps would have been in the playoffs still, they would have beaten the Devils. I don't think so, because this Devils team, no one gave them a shot. And now look at them, they're playing to represent the Eastern Conference, and now they're trying to win Stanley Cup. So,
underrated throughout the entire playoffs, even by me, I will admit. I did not have them going this far.
Now you're absolutely right. Now, so the Phoenix series, we just talked about it a little bit. Obviously LA has been so hot. They haven't lost on the road. They're kind of like the San Antonio Spurs of the NHL.
Yep.
You have Jonathan Quick, Dustin Penner, Drew Doughty, some awesome players for the LA Kings. And it's like, you look at this series right now. Obviously, they played last night. It's 1-0 LA. They won in overtime. Very kind of wasn't really that physical of a game like we were talking about earlier, but and it wasn't bad. It was kind of wide open for the most part. But again, great goaltending. Comes in and really kind of saves the LA Kings there. When they made it 1-1 in the third period, New Jersey comes out. I mean, they were. You would have thought that they were favored that game.
Yeah.
But LA kind of took it and forced overtime, and like I said, anything can happen in overtime. So LA wins 2-1. They get a lucky. Kopitar scores in overtime.
Yeah.
Not a lucky goal at all. Very kind of handcrafted goal. Breakaway, just beats Brodeur. Nothing you can do about that.
No. I mean, jumping back into the third round into the Western Conference Finals, I mean, LA, Phoenix, this has not been a physical playoffs, period. There hasn't been much crazy fighting by any means. But these two teams were never big rivals going into this offseason. But I think going forward, they might be now. So LA goes ahead and wins both for the first 2 games in Phoenix. So that right there is a little bit of a dig. We go into Game 3. And LA wins again. So I'm thinking possible sweep here. Rob said no, and Rob was right. So Game 4, Phoenix goes ahead and win. But then we get into Game 5, and LA ends up winning the series. But it was in overtime. And again, there was some little bit of scrums going on behind the scenes. A little bit of fighting. There was some bad blood going through the handshake line to finish off this series. So I think going forward, it's going to be really fun to end up watching Phoenix and LA play again. I think there will be some bad blood. They won't forget this.
You're absolutely right. Great storyline. And those teams play out west. I mean, well, everyone in Arizona, one in Los Angeles, they always have, when it comes to sports, kind of a big rivalry, especially in college football and college basketball. So, you're absolutely right. So that'll make for a great storyline next season. So looking forward, now we already know that the LA Kings are up 1-0 in the series. What do you think? Like, what's your take on this whole? Like, what do you think's going to happen? How's it going to play out?
All right. So, can anyone slow down the LA Kings? Honestly, no. And I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
A couple names right here. First of all, it's been unreal what they've accomplished so far. They're coming in as an 8 seed. No one ever thought they were going to get this far. Who is LA? LA is definitely not a hockey town. Now you've got fans coming out of the woodwork. Everyone's backing them up. Gretzky's doing interviews again. It's like good old LA times. There's a lot of powerhouses on this team. Kopitar, Drew Doughty, Mike Richards, Jonathan Quick. These guys are all solid players, absolutely on fire. So the Kings are also very healthy. They haven't had to play as many games as all of these other teams have had to do. Other teams have gone into Game 6s, Game 7s, LA is not. They've gone through a couple series now where they've finished early. They've had some more rest, time off. They're getting scoring from everybody. There isn't just one person that's going ahead and doing a lot of the scoring from them. You're getting scoring from Kopitar, from Dustin Brown, their captain, from Mike Richards. Even Drew Doughty comes up from the defense and goes ahead and does some things for them. And even King, has had 4 goals in the Phoenix series. So when you have a lot of multiple people being these powerhouses on offense, you've got a team that's going to be tough to beat, especially. The size of the Kings as well is a lot bigger presence-wise going up against the Devils. I don't think the Devils' defense is going to be ready for the big size of the offenders that they have on the Kings forwards. They just don't match up. I mean, the Devils have 2 main people with Kovalchuk and Parise, but besides that, that's really about it, is Giunta and Carter. I mean, they're okay, absolutely good guys, but they're going to have to really step up in order to go big time against what the Kings have on offense.
Yeah, no, you nail it right on the head, too. I think that defense will be at a premium this finals.
Yes.
I really think so. A lot of low-scoring games. If we haven't seen it already in the playoffs, defense wins championships. Great hot goaltending wins championships. First and foremost, Brodeur has been on his game. I know they haven't been publicized a lot. The Devils have been playing awesome defense in every which facet of the game. LA Kings too. I mean, like you said, Jonathan Quick has been. If you don't know who he is, now you all know. He's one of the best goaltenders in hockey. Kind of out of center field a little bit, but you're absolutely right. I mean, Natalie, the LA Kings are going to be so tough to defeat, but every Stanley Cup, you kind of see guys on the other team that have been in the Stanley Cup before, that have actually had experience. We don't see that. The Kings don't really have that many guys that have played.
They have a couple guys, but you're right. I think a lot of this is going to come down to goaltending and the defense. And as far as defense-wise on LA, you've got Drew Doughty, who there is nobody that can match up on the Devils against Drew Doughty as far as when we're looking defensively. Behind Drew Doughty, you've got Rob Scuderi. Old Penguin, mind you.
There you see.
And does have a cup under his way. So we do have some experience there being in a Stanley Cup, finals before. But defense-wise, with, the LA Kings, it's definitely going to be more of a powerhouse than what the Devils have. Because not only do we have Doughty and Scuderi, but you also have Mitchell and Matt Green. So there are a lot of these guys that are standing in front of Quick that are going to be, awesome powerhouses. So I think the Devils are going to have it out for them, I guess, a little bit, both offensively and defensively. But I too underrated them. I don't want to rule them out. When it comes down to goaltenders, which we've talked about multiple times throughout this playoff, that's a big deal. Now, how do you do the goaltender standing up between Marty Brodeur and Jonathan Quick? Marty Brodeur has been absolutely great. He outplayed Lundqvist, which is another phenomenal guy, going into this, another huge powerhouse. Brodeur is also, like you said, he's been here before multiple times, both when he was young and now that he's older. He's going to go out there and he's just going to play. So, you're not going to really be able to get Brodeur off his game. He's going to come in here calm, and he's just going to absolutely, I think, be a massive powerhouse.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, predictions. I don't know how you feel, but I like the Devils in this game, I like the Devils in this series, and only because I think Kovalchuk's going to step up, and Brodeur's already been there before. So, all right, they lost the first game, big deal. They're going to play one more in New Jersey before you ship off to LA. And you're right, not playing as many games as the Devils has definitely helped the Kings, injury-wise, resting-wise, but I think that the blue line attack of the Devils is better than the Kings, and one slip up, I've been saying this for the last 2 series. I'm like, can anyone stop Jonathan Quick? I mean, yeah, you can stop him, but their defense has been so good, it can't last forever. So I think with Parise and Kovalchuk, those 2 guys, and Giunta too, I mean, they have some great weapons on New Jersey that, we didn't see that in Phoenix. And then beforehand, even when the Kings beat the Canucks, there was not one of the Seddon brothers. So, they have their, not taking away from this, but the Devils have their full team ahead of them. I think it's going to be very tough for the Kings to escape another 4 or 5 game series. So I like the Devils in this, as long as they can extend the series out And what I mean by that, obviously, is if they can pick up a win in New Jersey tomorrow night, and then withstand that, if they can just take one in LA, 2-2, and then maybe ship one off again. You know, LA what do they play? 2-3-2 or 2-3.
2-2, 1-1.
2-2, 1-1. Goes back to New Jersey 2-2. It's anyone's ball game. So I like the Devils only because I'm looking past these next few games and I'm seeing that if they can just withhold that, they can do some damage.
Yeah. So I will not completely rule out the Devils. I've done that now a couple times and I've absolutely been wrong. You're right. In order for the Devils to win, those few powerhouses that they have are going to absolutely have to step up and be able to take this over. Kovalchuk is often going to have to be double, defensive-minded, in order to be able to stop him. But Kovalchuk, Parise, Gionta, these guys are going to absolutely have to step up. The one thing the Devils do have, though, is Brodeur. Brodeur is a phenomenal stick handler as well. So the LA Kings are going to have to be aware of that. He's definitely got that above and beyond Jonathan Quick. In order to score on Quick, though, because Quick is absolutely down, great when he's down with his pads on the ground, on the ice. In order to score on Jonathan Quick, you're going to have to go high, right under the bar. So they definitely both have their pros and cons, but I think goaltender-wise, Brodeur is going to take the cake here. So in order for LA to win, which I think they are, I'm going to pick LA on this one. Okay. They're going to have to go strong with their offense and defense, which I think that they do have above and beyond the Devils. The Devils, I think Brodeur is going to keep them in this, but I'm going to go with LA. I do not think this is going to be a sweep in any way, shape, or form. I could see this kind of going back and forth a little bit and going into maybe a game 6. I don't think it's going to go to a game 7. Here I go, getting myself in trouble by saying what I think is really going to happen. But I think it's going to be game 6. I think LA is going to do it. No, my predictions have been terrible, which is another reason why
I'm hot.
I think Rob's going to, I'm the hockey crazy fanatic, and I think Rob's going to get me on this one again. But I don't know. I think we're going to stick with LA on this. I'm going to say 6 games. The goaltender's going to come to this. But say the Devils pull this out and Marty Brodeur wins another cup. Do we think, now that Marty Brodeur is 40 years old, that he would retire after this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If he wins the Stanley Cup, he's got to.
He's got to be done.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So I think this is going to go to 7 games, regardless of who wins. I think the Devils are going to win, but like I said, Game 7, anyone can win. It'll be in New Jersey. Probably will be one of the better Stanley Cup finals we've seen in years past. Haven't really seen too many good ones. Well,
I'm like, I will absolutely fight you on this one, because before that they went to 2 Game 7 back-to-backs with the Penguins and the Red Wings. First the Red Wings winning, and then the Penguins winning. How can you not say those are some of the best Stanley Cup finals?
I don't like the Penguins, so it's.
Well, that's fine, but they still were.
I kind of blocked it out of my memory.
Take a step out of there, Rob, and just go ahead and look at it. 2 Game 7s back-to-back Stanley Cup finals.
I definitely took it out of my memory bank.
And then Marian Hossa saying that he wanted to leave the Penguins and go play for a team that could win, aka Detroit. And then what happened the next year?
Lost them.
We won, but then he won and eventually won it anyway, going and playing for Chicago. So Marian Hossa ended up getting one anyway. But so I say LA, you say the Devils. Who do you think would be the MVP of this series?
You know what? I was thinking about it. If the Devils do win, I would probably say if it was with low scoring, I'd say Brodeur will win it.
Right. Low scoring, Brodeur's going to win it. But if not, I say they get high scoring.
I'd say probably, Zach Parise. Yeah.
I could see Parise, absolutely.
Or Kovalchuk, one of those 2 guys. So you got 3 guys really on the Devils. Parise, Kovalchuk, Brodeur. And then if the Kings win it, obviously you got to give it to Jonathan Quick.
Hands down.
Or you can give it to Dustin Brown.
You can give it to Dustin Brown, too. Okay, big-time captain, also getting in some scrums, getting in some fights, scoring goals. I think all around, Dustin Brown is that full player for LA. But you also have Mike Richards, who came out from Philly, and he's been absolutely a huge asset to this team recently. You have Drew Doughty, who is a defensive player, but also is able to make that shift over into offense whenever needed. And he's also someone you have to worry about when it's scoring goals. But I think that there's no way that you can rule out what the goaltenders have done throughout the series.
Yeah,
so it's going to be really hard to not pick the goaltenders on each team as being an MVP going into
and even last night,
Stanley Cup. Yeah,
there were so many
ridiculous
scoring,
saves.
yeah, great scoring chances that just got upended by the great goaltending play
Yes.
of Brodeur and Jonathan Quick. So it's going to be tough. Like I said, the Devils have their work cut out for them. But again, I'm standing by my word. So I like the Devils in 7.
All right, you can take the Devils in 7. I'm going to stick with my team. I'm going to stick with LA. Last night's game was awesome. Another overtime. I think that these games are going to be close, and I don't want to say that because, again, watch them be blowouts now for the next couple. But I think with these two teams, they're gonna match up well, and I think that we're going to see some really close games. Hopefully, some overtime games. If you're a hockey fan, you love seeing it go into overtime, especially if it's not against your team.
Definitely.
Now that both of our teams are out, it's just
Yeah.
fun watching these games go. Goaltending last night was incredible on both sides. Scoring chances and the saves that they made just absolutely blew my mind. Seeing it go into overtime again. It's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a really fun series.
I think so too. You're absolutely right. We have about a minute left. Switching gears a little bit.
What are we talking about?
Well, I want to just talk about the NBA draft last night. I don't know if you're a big fan of the NBA.
No.
Well,
We don't have an NBA team in Pittsburgh, so I never really grew up
that's
being
true.
an NBA fan.
Anyways, big controversy today was the New Orleans Hornets. They won the 1 seed. They got the ping pong ball showed up on their end. They end up winning it. Anthony Davis is going to be the first pick in the draft. He goes to a team where they don't have an owner yet. They're still owned by the NBA. It makes it more lucrative for that team to slide over, and they're like, oh, okay, well, now we have the number 1 pick. We're going to bring some fanfare into this arena. I don't know. You probably heard about it a little bit today.
I heard a little bit about it, but honestly, I never really followed NBA. More recently, started following some of the Sixers. Some of my friends are from Philadelphia.
That was a great series.
It was a great series. Some of my friends swear by going to Philadelphia games. I could sing you some of the 76ers songs. And I've
No,
heard
no
those.
songs. Don't sing.
10, 9, 8, 76ers.
All right,
No, Rob, that's okay.
We'll leave it for another show.
Pittsburgh never had that NBA team, but we do have the Pitt Panthers, so that's the only person.
And they're going to the ACC next season.
They are going to the ACC.
That's going to be pretty
That's
big.
going to be very interesting. We'll talk about that coming up sometime for sure.
For sure. Well, again, Natalie, thanks for coming on, talking hockey again. Your expertise is better than most. Let's put it that way. And even though you're a Penguins fan, we'll forgive you.
I am a hockey girl at heart.
Steve Mullins, Phil Hargis, thanks again for directing this show. For Natalie Gerson, I'm Rob Castro. Thanks again for watching Fantasy Sports Review. Goodbye, everyone.
See you guys.